No worries. All right, welcome to the A1 Podcast. Your host, Asif Ali, and I am here by Green Bay Packers, San Francisco 49ers, Seattle Seahawks, and SDSU legend, Super Bowl 45 champion, and now coach, Brett Swain. Brett, how you doing today, brother?
Good, man. Glad to be on your show, man. Thanks for
100%.
having me.
100%, man. So yeah, I mean, how's everything been, man? I mean, I remember that, obviously, like, you and I, you coach with Coach Dub. You work with Dub, right? When you play for the Packers?
No, I actually met James Jones when I played for the Packers, and
That's
that was
exactly.
my that was my ties with Coach Dub. But it kind of goes a little further back further than that. When I played for San Diego State, I played for Ray Peterson, and Ray Peterson and Coach Dub were teammates when they played together at
Okay.
San Diego State. So
Okay.
a lot of the same philosophies that Coach Peterson was teaching are the same things, same concepts that Coach Dub is teaching today,
Got it.
and stuff that we talk a lot about. And so there's a lot of like history and stuff there.
Yeah, 100%. And it's funny that because I know Coach Dub also went to STSU. He went to San Diego State, and
Yep.
James Jones. How also that was my first practice. So my story is that I didn't get to play football in high school because of my grades, and so my
Mhm.
first exposure to football was at San Jose City College in Spring '08, which was
Yep.
my senior year of Spring '08, which was the year you got drafted, which is after like basically after your senior season, and I was
Mhm.
there. My first practice, James Jones was doing the ladder on the field, bro. I was like,
Right.
oh my fucking god, it's such a trip. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then
Yeah. It's
yeah,
cool, man.
it's
But that's
cool.
that's kind of how I got my inspiration that I could potentially play in the NFL or play at a high level as well, is because when I was going out to practice, I saw guys doing ladders on the side of the field just like that too. And it was like guys that were in, when I went to Carlsbad High School, it was guys going to college,
Mm,
UCLA. When I got to San Diego State, it was guys getting drafted now. So it was like, all right, man, like it's a motivational thing. And it's important that I think former players go back to their schools and do stuff like that, because it's super inspirational to the younger guys. It was inspirational to me as well. So, just like you said, I think it's important that us athletes do that.
100%. And to your point, I think that's part of why this podcast exists. It's crazy that we talk about giving back, going back to the school, and I watch a lot of your IG videos of kind of what you're doing now with the kids, and like kind of like I think you one of you said yeah, you are the company you keep,
Yeah,
and and
you
and,
are
and
you are who you associate with.
you are who
Yeah,
you
yeah,
associate with. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, yeah.
And that's kind of my inspiration to obviously starting the show and kind of having former coaches, my teammates like Dub, and like a few days ago, my other teammate for San Jose City, who was also there that same season I mentioned, no way, because it was just kind of like you said, we're giving back. Even like the guys from San Jose City where I started my career. One of my buddies is a linebackers coach over there. My other buddy, he played for SJSU, then he played for the Niners. Now he kind of just helps out in the community, and obviously Coach Dub, right? It's all just kind of making sure that you give back, and then kind of bring it full circle, because there's a lot of kids because I coached my first year of high school football last year, and a lot of
Yeah.
the kids who I either coach, or kids who follow me because they read about me playing arena or whatever like that, arena ball, on Facebook or whatever, on Instagram, listen to this podcast. It's kind of also instilling those same lessons, those principles to them, and kind of having guys like you on the show. It really gives them, it really kind of gives them that kind of what you said, like motivation, to like play
Yeah,
and continue
absolutely.
aspiring. So yeah.
Football's life, man. That's how I say it. Football's life. That's how I learned how to kind of like navigate through life, is learning how to be a good teammate, learning how to be a disciplined athlete, learning how to schedule. I mean, playing football taught me about life. So that's kind of what I say to the kids is football's life. So whenever you have a chance to learn, and whenever you have a chance to give, you gotta do it. So
100%, 100%. So yeah, let's start off with your early years, because I think you're born in were you born and raised in Carlsbad, or did you go to
I
high
was San
school?
Diego kid. I went to
Yeah.
high school. Yeah, I was a North County kid. You know, grew up in Escondido, Carlsbad area. Went to high school at Carlsbad High School. You know, and then headed down to San Diego State.
Nice, nice. And then at Carlsbad, I think what you're a 4-star recruit, 5-star.
I was actually like a 3-star, I think, maybe barely a 3-star. I wasn't really a highly recruited kid, you know, like because more so, you know, coming into high school, I was known as a baseball player.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of people were just like, because my dad was a former baseball player.
Okay.
He was a big time baseball player down here in San Diego. He got drafted in the first round to the Houston Astros.
Damn.
So
Wow.
so he kind of you know, he was my coach growing up. So, you know, played at a high level, had some great coaching, and taught me how to, you know, be a really good baseball player. So going into high school, everybody was kind of looking forward to that. And, you know, baseball was a love of mine, but you know, I just always had that burning itch to play football. And you know, what I'm starting to learn now as being a coach is that, you know, football is such an emotional sport.
Yeah.
And like,
100.
you just need, you know, the kids that really love the game are emotional kids, you know. So it's like, it's fun to watch these emotional kids go out and just use this platform to, you know, be themselves, let their emotions out, because that's what I did, you know. Like, that's you know. And I try to encourage them to you know, embrace that side of the game, because it's an important side of the game. And then two, when you get into the heat of the moment, into those tough parts of the game, you know, that's the part that's going to carry you through those, that emotion, that energy, you know, that. And especially if you can learn how to, you know, harness it in a good way. So yeah, man, all that stuff is good.
100%. Yeah, and it's cool you tie that back. You know, kind of also and that's exactly what, because one dude who actually was with the kind of the college team I referenced, Manu, the guy who I had on Monday. Like we were talking, the one of his teammates saw the episode from that. He watched that episode and he was just talking about, like, you know, he's like, hey brother, man, I love how you're giving back. You know what I mean? And then like
Yeah.
he's like, yeah, he's like, and then he also coached 2 years, you know, at high school, because he worked with Coach Dub. He played with Coach Dub. He was there before I joined. Because I went to, like I told you, I went to SJCC. He was there 07, and then he left, and then I was there in 08. That's my freshman season. Then his sophomore season was done. He went back to coach at Hawaii, you know, high school over there. And, you know, kind of the same thing. It's like, you know, like because yesterday's episode we had Coach Dub on, and then one of his former players, DP Darius Prince, and it
Hmm.
was just kind of like DP's coaching now, right? His first year coaching, and we were just kind of talking about that. You know, it's like the lessons you instill your kids is just, you know, like kind of emotions, controlling your emotions, and kind of, you know, tailoring your approach as a coach, you know, to each kid and their
Oh
psyche, you
yeah.
know, because you have to
Oh
tailor it.
yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, that's what I've learned a lot here, of working with high school kids. That every kid is different, you know, and you gotta approach every kid differently. But you can also have your same concepts that you're starting to hammer in, you know, like your core values. You can hammer those ones in if you stick with those. Keep your core values pretty solid and consistent, and then you can learn how to deal with human beings. I mean, that's really what you're doing. You know, you're learning how to handle every individual characteristic of each kid. And you know, it can get confusing at sometimes, and you can get lost. But it, like I said, if you keep your values down to earth, and like I said, football is life. You know, if you
Bingo.
can teach within, if you could teach within that, and man, it's gonna it for me right now, it's paying dividends, because, you know, those same values I'm just really trying to invest in right now after football, and it's just carrying me through, you know, on to the next, keeping me moving in the game a little bit. And yeah, man, it's been a fun ride.
100%. Yeah, it has been. So now you're a 3-star recruit. You get out of Carlsbad High. Now you're at San Diego State. You know, and it's crazy because I actually have one of the best kid from my high school. He actually went to San Diego State. I'm not sure if you know Rob Andrews, but he
Rob
played for,
Andrews.
yeah, he played
What
08, like
years? Oh, eight.
2000, yeah, 2008 to like to I think 2013.
Yeah, so I probably would have crossed paths Rob Andrews. If I seen his face, I definitely probably would be able to
Right.
recognize him. What
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
position?
Linebacker.
y- I think I think I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, he had a sack on Andy Dalton in like 2010.
TCU.
TCU, yep.
Yeah, at TCU.
Yep.
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you
man.
remember. You remember now. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, man. I remember a lot, and I just met up with a couple guys that I played with, Damian Scott, and that's one thing that I've wanted to do is really just reconnect with that brotherhood that you build up at college. Like
Yeah.
when you go off and play and you start getting off into the 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 journey of life, man, you kind of lose not you don't lose contact with people just because of social media these days,
Yeah, you
but
can't.
like
Yeah.
but for the most part, I think relationships take work, and if you're not willing to pick up the phone and call somebody and try to like actually make an effort to see someone, then it's like, what is that relationship really? So that's one thing I've really wanted to do is tap into that San Diego State network, pick up the phone, call guys, get back with certain dudes. I just met with Damien, a buddy of mine that I played with at State, Damian Scott, and he's doing coffee beans and that stuff that I love. It's like
Yeah.
he's slanging coffee. So it's for some real cool things going on out there, and it's so interesting that it all comes back to us. Just using that network of football. Football's life, man. So
Facts.
that's kind of what we're finding out right now later on after the fact, because you can only play football for so long. The career is pretty short.
Exactly. 100%. Now, yeah, obviously, now we're gonna transition from kind of your SDSU. I think your second team all Mountain West, right? Second week's
Yeah,
all Mountain West conference, and then
should have been first team.
should have been
Got
first team. Yeah, yeah.
got
Talk about
gypped
it.
right there.
Talk about it.
Well, like we played. We were not a good team, so we didn't win many games. And when you don't win games, you don't get those spots on those all Mountain West teams. So
Right.
the two New Mexico receivers caught a lot of balls, and they were winning games. So they got the top two spots on the first team, and then I came up on the second team. But I feel like I played well enough. I didn't catch as many balls, but my averages were a lot higher. Like I just felt like I deserved that first team, being that I played on kind of the lesser team, but still stood out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but hey, man, oh well, they got for second team. We all still ended up getting drafted, so that's cool.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Now let's talk about the draft, right? Because obviously
Yeah.
you weren't heavily recruited outside of high school, but now you're about to go to your talk to me about your pro. Did you have a pro day in a combine, or did you get invited to the NFL
I
combine?
I I didn't get invited, so I just had a pro day, so I had to go off of that.
Okay. And I'm
So
sure
that
that you
was
killed
kind
it.
of difficult. Yeah, I had to.
Where'd you go? Brett. Brett. We're waiting for Brett to rejoin. Waiting for Brett to rejoin. Let's see. And this meeting.
But I'm back.
You're good. All right. So yeah, go ahead. So yeah, you're basically you had your pro day and you're killing it, right?
Yeah, so pro day, and honestly, I knew that I had good enough film that, like, if all I had to do was like turn some heads. So
Yeah.
like all I knew that all I had to focus on that 40, and I blew the 40 away. I ran fast, and kind of all the question marks that anybody had on me, whether if I can run or play at that level at that speed, pretty much checked off the box, checked off that box. So, now it was just about meeting people. And as soon as I ran a fast 40, like that's when the opportunities started kind of coming, like, oh, we want to work you out. Like different teams wanted to work me out and came to the school. And luckily, we had a quarterback that was getting highly recruited. He was a third round pick, Kevin O'Connell.
Yeah.
Um, he was being heavily recruited by a lot of teams. So they would come and work him out, and he would be like, "Yeah, I need receivers." So we technically kind of got free workouts, knowing that we were just catching balls, but we were out there trying to like impress the guys just as much as Kevin was. So we got some free workouts with New England and some different teams, and he was drafted to New England. Um, so that was a fun process. I really enjoyed it, and it's what I do now. It's if I wasn't successful on those days, I don't feel like I would be doing what I'm doing now.
Yeah. 100%. And now obviously we drafted what, seventh round or sixth or seventh round?
Seventh round.
Seventh
Yeah,
round
seventh round.
to the Green Bay Packers. And it's interesting because 2008, that was my first year. That's your first year in the league, your rookie, and that's the year that Aaron Rodgers took over the fold. I'm not sure. Did you get a chance to meet Brett Favre at all, or kind of was he not there?
I met Brett Favre once. He was not there during the whole process. It was kind of a circus, So
Yeah,
it was it
media
was
circus.
it was it was really kind of eye opening for me, and it was a lot for me. Like I wasn't ready for all that. So, um, the whole Brett Favre, Aaron Rodgers switch, and it was a big deal. And Aaron coming in to being the starter now, nobody really wanted to let him down. Everybody kind of really was behind him and supporting him. And hey, man, it looks like he took it and ran with it. And they're going to talk about him being some of the greatest, one of the greatest arms of all time. So
Yeah. Actually, yeah. Talk to me. Talk to me. How is he like, as a teammate? Because we hear different stories. See, for me, being a Cal JUCO kid, I have family members that went to Cal. I mean, I almost idolized, you could say, A-Rod, growing up, right? Or like in
yeah,
high school. Like, so kind of, how was he? What I mean, when you got there, I mean, kind of as like a teammate, as like a leader, kind of talk to that because there's different stories, kind of like
yeah.
about it. Yeah.
My experience with it was it was a good relationship to me. I had fun with it. I read some of the stories that are out there about how he was joking the meeting rooms and stuff like that. And I experienced a little bit of that with him, and we developed certain things that I really enjoyed that made me a better player. So as long as it made me a better player, that's all I really could ask for in that environment. You're a
Right.
professional athlete, you're a professional football player. That's what you're there to do. So um, to me, I felt like he held me at a held me accountable, and held looked at me to try to always be a guy that was lifting the level and standards around us. And if you let him down, and if you dropped the ball, or if you made a bad play, and if you missed something, he would get on your butt about it. But honestly, I enjoyed that because it made you want to play harder. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I don't want to let him down. You know what I mean? That's a quarterback. That to me, but that's all how I grew up playing the game. Like that's what that meant. That relationship meant like, hey, you don't let him down, I don't let you down. It goes both ways. So I really enjoyed it because it made me get in the huddle, and it made me lock in. You know what I mean? Like I was not trying to screw around in that huddle, and he had command of it. And to me, like that's the leadership right there. Right there. If you could take 11 men, get them in a huddle, get them all on the same page, and get them motivated to go out there and kick some butt. Hey man, there's not much more that you can say about that.
Absolutely. No, bingo. And I think that's number one key because like, you hear about people say about, oh yeah, he's very narcissistic or he's very kind of cold shouldered to the media. But I'm like, dude, if he fucking makes you win, he makes you better. What more can you ask for? You know what I mean? As like a
Right,
competitor, I mean, it's a team
right,
game, and like
right,
all we're trying to do is get better. So that's awesome.
right.
So
Yeah, so that's how I looked at it, and same with other guys too. It wasn't just him. I just think that especially winning a Super Bowl, that's kind of the environment. Is it you got a bunch of dudes that are there that are not trying to, you know, not trying to do anything but just win. So um, I thought it was a cool environment to be a part of. It's made me who I am today.
Yeah.
It's created a lot of base fundamentals that I just go off of and continue to build off of today. So
Actually, yeah, let's talk about the Super Bowl because you got to play in the Super Bowl. First, talk to me
yeah,
about the experience getting there, like the run there. Because I mean, when I played Arena 2 years after you got to the Super Bowl, I mean, I played the AIF Championship game. It's like a Tier 1A Arena League, and then so that's how I got this ring. But
right.
talk to me about your experience because obviously I saw your ring. Your video's not working right now. But that's fine. But I was like, oh, I want to see the ring bits. Anyways, I was
Yeah,
like, talk to me about that, right? Like, kind of like what was
right.
there? Yeah. So good.
So my experience with the Super Bowl was amazing. It was like something that you always dream of as a kid to play in the Super Bowl, or that's the game that you always remember watching. That
Yeah.
is the Super Bowl every year, where you were at or whatever, who you're with. Um, but my experience was amazing, and I was just coming off of tearing my ACL the year before. So I
Wow.
was going through some adversity. And even in the beginning of the year, I was going through some adversity, just trying to get back to where I was normally. And, like one thing when you go through an injury, you don't ever really get back to normal. So it's like you got to kind of learn who you are, this new person you are, and that was a struggle for me. So to be able to kind of be a part of a successful team in that midst of that moment, I really feel like it was rewarding to me to come back from an ACL injury, to make a team and to that team to go win the Super Bowl. That meant a lot to me. So that was a great experience. And then just the whole weekend in itself, it's just all these things that you experience, like the whole media experience. It's a frenzy, like I said, it's like a lot of the NFL is a circus.
Right.
So once you finally get to the actual game, I mean, now you actually can actually focus on what you're good at, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
so to me it was all just about getting to the game so we can focus on playing. There's a lot of distractions and stuff like that. So, but the game in itself was an amazing game. It was back and forth. Uh, got thrown in the fire quickly because we had some injuries going on, and that was one thing about my career that was pretty hard that I don't think anybody really understands is that I was more so a backup player.
Mhm.
I wasn't like a starter that started every play. I was a backup player. I played a lot of special teams. So I was on every
Same here.
special team. I was on every special team unit. So that means when you're on every special teams unit, you got to go to special teams practice and special teams meetings. So it's a whole nother deal. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But on top of knowing your offensive plays and stuff like that. So during Super Bowl week, I'm not just focusing on offense, I'm focusing on all my jobs on special teams.
Mhm.
So that was my main focus because I'm a starter on special teams. So that was my role. And then boom, the game starts and a couple guys go down and get hurt. Now you're basically got to do the special teams requirement and
And
the
do the
and the
slides.
offense.
Yeah.
So, but now you go play. Now you go play in a huddle with a bunch of receivers that
Yeah.
all move around.
Well,
So it's
yeah.
not like I can just go to one position. I have to know all the positions because in that huddle, as the play's getting called, everybody's like, Greg go here, James go here, Jordy go here, and Brett you go here. So if you don't know what to do, like that's kind of hard. Like when you're learning plays, we had to learn plays like the whole playbook. We didn't learn just one position. We had to learn every position on the field
Yeah.
because in the middle of the game, you can go from X to slot receiver with a click of the fingers, and if you're not ready to know what to do, then it's your butt. You could cost us the game.
Yeah.
So you have to know your stuff and be on top of your stuff. So I had to make sure that I was always kind of doing double duty. So A lot of people don't know how hard that is to carry both burdens a little bit, you know. So
Yeah, I'm not sure if you can see my video, but let me just show this to you, what that says. Special
player of the
teams.
year,
Yes, sir.
yeah,
And that right there
oh
is the
yeah,
actual trophy.
that's
So,
pretty cool. That's
yeah, so
cool, man.
yeah,
Congratulations.
appreciate it, brother. No, I mean, so that's kind of my whole career was blown special teams. So kind of your journey resonates with me, because I was
Yeah.
never like the biggest, and I could tell. Yeah, I mean, you also weren't like the biggest, you know what I mean? You played with heart, you know what I mean? And I was
Mm-hmm.
also the same thing. I played with a lot of heart, and kind of to your point, it's like when your number's called, just be ready. You know what I mean? Just
Right.
whatever. If they want you on the outside, inside, slot, wherever the X, Y, Z are, just know every every position on the field and know and like you said, it's a challenge. It's a challenge to get up to speed, especially when you're doing your reps, especially in practice at gunner, at up back, wherever, and then you have to go, to your actual offense, like full team, and then it's like just being ready, and so obviously, like you said, it's double duty, and
Right.
so
Well,
my experience.
even in the middle of the Super Bowl game, I went from on punt team playing the wing. Now our gunner got hurt. Now I got to go play gunner
Yeah,
because I'm the
shit.
backup gunner.
Yeah,
So I'm the backup gunner. So now I have to go from wing. I studied wing all week. Now
right,
I have to go. Now I have to go compete against these guys. I didn't even watch no film on these guys really.
right.
I watched a little bit knowing that I'm the gunner. I'm the gunner, backup gunner, but I'm having to go make plays in the middle of the Super Bowl, in a backup role in a position that I didn't even know that I was going to be playing. So it's like, all right, that's the type of that's life right there. That's
Yeah.
football is life. That's how life feels right there. Like you wake up one day thinking that you got a hold of things, and then you go to sleep at that night like, dang, that totally flipped on me. You know what I mean?
Yeah, dude,
Football's
100%.
life, man. Football's life.
Football, football is live, man. 100%, man. But I mean, kind of, but that makes it so much more rewarding knowing that you're able to just adapt and adjust in the situation, and then you're to come out on top. And obviously, like I mean, you can attest to this, right? I mean, it's just like the greatest feeling is just getting over the hump and getting that eclipse, just getting to that fucking pinnacle, and then just being like, all right, here we are, and now you have that forever. You can't ever, the
Yeah.
journey to that, so, and
So
that's also
I was just on another podcast with Donald Driver, and he was talking about was basically saying the same thing. It's like something that nobody can ever take that from you. You know what I mean?
right,
Like
right.
nobody can ever take that experience, and honestly, that's something that I want to tap into later on in life right now, and that's why I like to do these podcasts is talk about the experience and share these moments because they do resonate with special teams players and guys that got to do stuff like this that are looking for opportunities. Well, what are you going to do to make the next play? Oh, well, the way I'm going to do it is I'm going to learn all the positions because I never know what I'm going to I don't even know what route I'm going to be running at that moment in time.
Right, right.
So if you think about it that, I think you're going to kind of be more prepared at those moments. So hey
Facts.
man, football's life.
Football is life. Now, your best, memories, those 3 years with the Packers. Now you come over here, up here to the
Right.
49ers. And
Mm-hmm.
now it's like Jim Harbaugh. That's actually Harbaugh's first year. So you had the privilege of being a member of the first year of Aaron Rodgers' first full year as starter, and then
Huh?
Jim Harbaugh's first full year as head coach, and Alex Smith's kind of resurgence here. Kind of talk to me about
Mm-hmm.
the transition from Green Bay to San Francisco, and talk to me about kind of the difference in kind of the coaching styles and the schemes and kind of your role as you transition to a different new team.
So I came into San Francisco late, like week 6 in the season. One of the receivers got hurt,
Mm.
and I was invited to a workout, and there were some good receivers at this workout. So at this workout for the Niners that year it was T.J. Hushmanzada, it was Chris Chambers, Brian Finneran from Atlanta. There were some good receivers in this group. There was a couple. There was me, and then there was um, a couple practice squad guys that were jumping in there. That they were pretty good too. And
Yeah.
at least the practice squad guys, they were kicking our butt because they were in football shape. because they've been playing and practicing with the team, so they
Yeah.
were in football shape. So they had the pace of the whole workout down a little bit. So they were kind of kicking our butt. I was trying to keep the pace with them a little bit, and you could tell like. So one thing as a coach and later on in life, I never thought I was going to be a super conditioning guy, and I was
Right.
just like, man, when I look back on my career and some of the moments that I really excelled in, I'm like, man, I think I excelled in those moments is just because I had the conditioning. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like I was just mentally clear, aware of what was going on. I felt good about those moments. I wasn't tired. I mean, once someone asked me one time that played professional football. His name was Scott Turner, played defensive back for the Chargers.
Mm.
He's like, "Hey man, do you ever get tired playing football?" And I was in high school, and I was like, "Yeah." And he's like, "Why?" I was like, "Good point." I was like,
Yeah.
never. Now my goal is to never get tired.
Never.
So
Yeah.
now I'm later on in life. I'm like, oh, I'm going to teach a kid speed. I'm going to teach him quickness. I'm going to teach him footwork. Now I'm like, what am I seeing that the like kind of key component is? Conditioning.
Conditioning. Yeah.
Just running
Yeah.
back and forth, just getting on a field and going and running and back and forth until you get tired. So it's like that's the main thing that's going to keep you moving forward.
Bingo. Yeah. And I mean, you obviously, I think even though you weren't conditioned, you still were able to manage to get that to give it one of those last two spots. But how many spots were left for receiver? Was it just one or was it kind of
On the
two?
pack,
On the
no.
Niners.
So there was one spot left. There was one receiver that got signed that workout,
Uh-huh.
but they didn't sign Hushmanzada. They didn't sign like I beat all of them out. I was like, wow, I beat these guys out. This is crazy.
Fuck,
I
dude.
was
Like,
like,
dude,
all
that's a
right,
trip.
let's sign me up. So the rest of that season, I dressed half the games and I didn't dress half the games, but when I did dress, I was a special teams player.
Yeah.
I started getting some more playing time towards the end of the year.
Mm.
But I was like still learning. Like, you get to a new offense, I was pretty much picking it up pretty quick because it was West Coast. So I picked it up pretty quick, but still had some little details that I could have been better at. So that was a good experience, though, coming in during that time of the year and seeing how fast you need to adapt. So that helped me when I went to Seattle. That
Yeah.
was kind of a easier transition because I knew how quickly I had to adapt in order to make plays and playing at a high level. So,
Yeah.
but yeah,
Yeah. And before we talk about Seattle, let's talk about the run because you just won the Super Bowl, and then this Niners team, they had just snapped a 7-8 year playoff drought, and not only they snap it, you played in the Saints game, the catch three,
right.
and
That was
so
a crazy game.
yeah. So talk to me about that.
That was a crazy game. It was just a back and forth game. It seemed like it was like, all right, nothing's really happening. Like everything's pretty steady. And then we started getting towards the end of the game, and it was just like Saints scored, we scored, they scored, we scored, they scored, we scored again. I was like, wow, this thing's getting crazy out here.
Right.
So, I thought Candlestick was a great place to play. I mean, Candlestick is like, that's one thing that I'm always going to remember playing there. Just how cold it gets. Like it gets like a frosty cold there. Like it gets like
Yeah.
this weird cold in Candlestick. So um, it was a great experience, and that game was nuts, back and forth. Fans are awesome in San Fran. I just love the dynamic playing at Candlestick. How you kind of like cruise through the hood, and then boom, Candlestick's right there, and
Yeah.
then everybody's just right there having a good time. So it's a good little experience, man. So I'm blessed to be able to do these things for sure.
100%. And to play in that game, which was one of the most memorable games in Niners playoff history, like I mean, that must have been just like because obviously, like you said, the craziness of the game, the ebbs and flows, and different runs and the momentum swings. Obviously, I mean, those are the best games to be a part of. I think
Oh yeah,
so.
for sure. for sure.
Yeah.
And then Alex Smith, doing what he's
Oh my
doing
God.
right now. So
Dude,
it's
holy shit.
amazing.
Holy shit. I mean, I talk about this almost on every episode of the podcast. In my first episode, when I just started a podcast 2 weeks ago, right? And so basically, like, when I started it and or 2.5 or 3 weeks ago, I was talking about, I was like, dude, Alex Smith, I remember him, going through all the struggles he had here. And then him ended up, his last good season, basically last season, right? Was really that season in 2011, right? Where he was a
Right.
full-time starter before he played midway through 2012. He has a concussion, and then he ends up getting shipped off to Kansas City. Like, it's just
Right.
the dude's a fucking warrior, bro. Like, he's just
Oh
like
yeah.
comes back and on and on. Like, he's just blood on
He's
his
just a good
legs.
dude.
Yeah,
He's
he's
just a
a
good dude, man.
good
He's a
dude, man.
football player.
Oh, I was about to say
Good dude, football player.
He's from San Diego too, like from like you,
Oh
right?
yeah.
Did you ever get to
Yeah.
play? Yeah, good.
Yeah, so my recruiting trip when I was getting recruited to college, I got to go to visit. I got offered from University of Utah. So when
Yeah.
I went out there, he was actually my host.
Oh, what?
So I got to meet him when he was at Utah, and then we played him that year, and they kicked our ass. I mean, man, they kicked our ass. They were so good. Steve Smith, Alex Smith. Wow.
Yeah.
Steve Smith was like super underrated receiver. I thought he was just someone that I always liked watching play when he was at Utah.
Yeah.
Man, that guy was a baller. So, and then you saw what he did in the league. So, but yeah, man, those were some crazy years, some good years for Alex Smith, not so good years, but that's what he does, man. He's just a journeyman. He's just a good dude. He's gonna fight through that adversity, and that just means a lot. It says a lot about him,
It does. It does. It really does. And so obviously, let me ask you this. Okay, now I have to ask you because Alex Smith and Aaron Rodgers are from the same draft class.
Right.
You gotta tell me, who did you prefer playing with and why?
Well, Aaron, the ball's gonna be right there on the money when you're playing with Aaron.
Yeah.
And that wasn't so much with the fact with Alex Smith, but pretty clear with A-Rod that was the case, that he was going to put the ball on the money. Alex had his own little characteristics too. He was a little bit of a good athlete, so when he had to use his feet, he did. He managed the offense really well. He played within the scheme, and he got us to the right plays. He made the appropriate checks. We had a lot of conversations about what we did in Green Bay when I was there, and he was always trying to mimic. When you see good players, you try to mimic them. So.
Yeah.
Even when we're in San Fran, it's me and Alex Smith, we're talking about Aaron Rodgers and how he runs the Green Bay offense. Like, you kind of want to have some type of that in your game, like I did that as a young player too. I had players that I was like, I want to be like him, so I thought that was always cool.
Yeah, facts. And I think to that point, I think it's funny because Greg Jennings was on, because I'm sure you heard Favre's recent comments about A-Rod versus Tom Brady, how he thinks A-Rod is like the greatest of all time, even though Brady's the most productive, because based on talent alone. And basically Greg Jennings was on I think they heard with Colin Cowherd, and you're obviously his teammate in Green Bay, but he was basically Colin Cowherd asked him, like, who did you prefer and why? Like Brett, and he said Brett Favre would give you more opportunities, but A-Rod, kind of to your point, was just on the money. So he limits your opportunities as a receiver, but that the play is going to be made. It's going to be precision.
Oh
so
yeah.
yeah. I mean, I think it's fucking crazy when you watch Aaron. I got to see A-Rod play for the first time when we came here to San Francisco in January when he played the Niners this year. And I mean, that was my first time seeing him play, and I'm just like, oh my God. Like, I mean, because I obviously got to work with James, with your teammates, the Whitehouse, because obviously Coach Dub was my coach, so I got to work with them, but I never got to work with A-Rod because A-Rod never came to our fucking practices. He's A-Rod, right? He's going to be either there in Cal or like wherever with a smoking hot girlfriend or wherever the fuck he's doing. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so, yeah, so it's like, and then I finally got to see him play. I'm like, even in his twilight years now, dude, his arm is fucking crazy. I was like, oh my God, like the one throw to Devontae where Devontae beats Sherman up top, right? You remember? Mm-hmm. I'm not sure if that deep. Oh my God, like it's crazy.
Well, that's the thing with Aaron is that he's gonna deliver the ball, so he's gonna get the ball out so quick. That's what was awesome about being a receiver for him. that you have the ball in your hands quickly. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, hey, I have the ball now. Now I have space to run. Now you can kind of see why receivers get so much yards after catch playing with Aaron, because he gets to the ball to the right receiver. He gets the ball on time and it gets out. You know, he's not taking sacks. He's not taking negative plays where, you know, other quarterbacks can't do that. You know, they can't get the ball out that quick.
Yeah. No, wideouts for life, right? W for O.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah. So yeah. So Seattle was I think, was that your last team? Seattle?
Yeah. So I actually finished up in Canada. So I
Oh yeah.
played.
You Saskatchewan, but that was your last NFL team, Seattle, right?
Yeah. So I
Okay.
finished up NFL in Seattle.
Yeah. So NFL in Seattle, and then you got to play with Russell Wilson. Yeah. Okay. So you got to play with some pretty fucking legit ass quarterbacks.
Yeah, they were great. That was great experiences, you know, just being able to play with all these guys. It's you know, and even when we were in the off season, I
Yeah.
got to catch balls with got to run routes and catch with Drew Brees a lot. So
Oh, did you?
I mean, you know, got to hang out with a lot of quality quarterbacks in my career, and you know, just seeing these guys' work ethic and what makes them and you know, what they do to be successful is amazing, because these quarterbacks' work ethic and drive is so insane. It's just like it goes beyond anything that I ever did. You know, like these guys are in the facilities 5:30, 6 a.m. Like it,
Man.
like if they even go home, you know what I mean? They're sitting there
Yeah.
watching film all night long. And that's one thing that I kind of regretted as a player, is that, man, maybe I should have watched film and took a little bit of more time out of my personal schedule to just watch film with the quarterbacks. You know what I
Right.
mean? So
Right.
like whether that was going to their house or just making it a point to sit down and watch film with these guys, you know what I mean? Like, so that's something that I would always change. But that's what made those guys great. Their work ethic, how hard they grinded themselves, and then that's why they're able to perform at such a high level.
100%. Yeah, I think I remember the story of Tom Brady. It's like, like it was like second year, first year. He was out New England Patriots facility, and he was just throwing balls. And Scott Pioli finds him, and then Pioli's like, he's like Brady, Tom, it's 12 a.m. And he's like, yeah. He's like, I just want to get a few more reps in, just get a few more. And Tom, then Pioli's like, okay. They've been walking. He's like, hey Scott, and Scott's like, what Tom? He's like, hey, don't try. Was like, what he said is like, don't let anyone know I was here.
Right,
Because it's like kind of the humble mindset. You want to always try to push your limits. And to your point,
right.
yeah. I mean, it's so easy to draw inspiration from that. But at the same time, you can't really measure yourself against that, because we're all different as athletes. You know what I mean? Like your player profile and what you need to do to make yourself at your best is kind of what different than what I need to do, different than what Tom Brady needs to do, different with Drew Brees, Aaron Rodgers. You know what I mean? It just
Mm-hmm.
depends. So
Oh yeah, oh
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. So yeah, okay, cool. So yeah, geez, that was great. You got to work. Now let's talk about CFL, because when I was prepping for my combine, I prepped for my SaberCats combine, the AFL in 2010 after my sophomore year at West Valley College. So talk to me about kind of your experience up there, because the guy who I trained with actually played for the CFL, the Hamilton Tiger Cats. So what was your experience like working, being in Canada with the Rough Riders? And I think, was Graham Harrell there at that time, or no? I don't think he was. Maybe he
Yeah,
was.
Graham was playing for Winnipeg, I think.
Okay. Okay. Cool.
I think Graham was up there playing either that was either Brian Brom or Graham. I can't remember, but
Yeah.
Brom was up there too. But yeah, that was a good experience. You know, one thing that I wanted to walk away from the game was that I wanted to play at a high level, and I wanted to be like a starter. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
the NFL opportunities kind of started going away a little bit, but CFL gave me an opportunity, and I went in and started playing for Saskatchewan, and not thinking that I was even going to make the team. Before you know it, I was starting. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
it was kind of easy. Like, it wasn't easy for me, but like the game was like I can manipulate a little bit, because like it was just easy with that waggle that they use. They use a 10-yard run you got to run into the route. So like I could just run wherever I wanted, really. Like So when I really started understanding how to play the positions and how to use the techniques and stuff they use up there, it was an interesting game. I had fun with it. I ended up starting. I got that out of my system a little bit. We were a good team. We made playoffs. Close, we almost had a couple close playoff wins, and good experience. Cold as heck out there. Saskatchewan was colder than Green Bay. So
Wow.
so Green Bay was cold. Chicago is quietly colder than Green Bay as well. People don't
I played in
understand
Chicago.
that.
I
Yeah.
played in Chicago for a minor league team out there, the indoor team, the Chicago Falcons. Bro,
Yeah.
it was negative 58 degrees in January. The polar vortex hit, and I'm just like, oh my god. And Green Bay wasn't. I don't think Green Bay was negative 58 ever. Or
No.
maybe it was. You know
The
what I mean? But
wind.
the
It's the
wind
wind.
is the
It's the
wind
wind.
drops it down by minus 30, and obviously you and I are both California guys, and we're out there trying to play. It's like, dude,
My first
fuck.
year in that cold, man, was a nightmare. It took me a whole year to adapt to, being in those type of environments. My second year was a lot easier, but that first year in that cold, it was really difficult for me, man. I ain't gonna lie.
Yeah. Yes, my last year playing was 2018. That's actually where I got this ring, and then that was the Chicago Falcons right there. You can see that.
Yeah,
And
there you go.
that, yeah, and so pretty much, yeah. So like you, we played a conference championship in Wisconsin. I think when was that? That was fucking October 2018. October 2018, and so it was right before the winter hit. But then the All-Star game was in January, and so we had to go up to Wisconsin to Wisconsin Dells, right?
Yeah,
And dude, I was like, bro, fuck this. I'm freezing my ass off, man.
it's so cold.
It's so cold.
It's
Like,
so
dude,
cold. And
so
that's
cold.
what I try to tell the kids. I'm like, hey, man, before you get all happy about these offers in these cold ass areas, maybe you should go check it out and experience it real quick. You know what I mean? Go feel it,
Yeah,
because it don't feel like you think it feels. It's completely different, bro. It's
completely
gonna sting
different.
you. It's gonna sting your skin.
Bingo, bro. No, it stings. The moment like you stick your finger out, or the moment you try to catch that ball, it's like, oh god. I remember my hands were just like, ugh, just stinging every time.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Man,
So that was difficult for me, but I eventually got more used to the snow, and just got more used to the cold. And then when I played in Saskatchewan, it was just it was cold up there, and the fields we played on, not very quality. They're better now. I
right.
know Saskatchewan's got a brand new stadium. We used to play in the Mosaic Stadium, and man, that field turf was like old school AstroTurf.
Shit.
And then it would freeze. Like the
Yo.
whole field would freeze. Like you couldn't even wear cleats on it. Like you had to wear like almost like what the bobsledders wear. When they run the thing down the ice. It's crazy.
Crazy. 100%. Man, yeah. No, I'm not going back to Midwest, bro. They can't pay me
Yeah.
enough money to go back there, bro.
I'm gonna stay in Cali. I'll be
Yeah,
here.
I'll be here. Hell yeah, Cali boys, man. Shit, wideouts, So yeah, pretty much, and special teams. I mean, I'm sick that you're also a special teamer like me. You know what I mean? So I mean, we connect on
I
that.
wasn't at first though. I had to learn it. Like if I
Yeah,
didn't take myself, if I didn't take it seriously and actually try to learn it, like I wouldn't be able to say that though. Like I had to
right.
actually sit there and take it seriously.
Yeah,
Until I did that, I wasn't a special teams guy. So
right.
until like I was like, all right, this is how I got to make the team right here, and this is what I got to do. So I had to go sit down with other players and figure out how to play special teams, and they basically set me up and taught me how to do it. And basically it's real easy, like, to learn how to do things if you just go meet with your coach. You know what I mean? Like, go meet with your coach, like maybe outside of practice,
Yeah,
and like sit down and really like talk about what you're doing. You know what I
yeah,
mean? Like,
yeah.
okay, follow up. Like, always follow up with your coach, and take it to the next level. Like, I had to go sit down and after film watch more film on the things that I did just to clarify, to get on the same page, to figure out what you really want out here, because the better I can do that, the more you're gonna like me. You know what I mean?
Right.
So
Exactly. Exactly.
and the more you like me, the more you're gonna pay me. So that's where I
Binge.
want to be.
Yeah, exactly. You want to be rich. No, I
Right.
mean, so for me, it was like because I didn't play football in high school, so I had to use special teams was my way of getting in because I wasn't a naturally gifted athlete. You know what I mean? I had to kind of work, and then finally, when I proved myself enough, I was able to get some looks at these minor league teams, the arena league level, and then obviously the rest is history, right? So, for
Right.
me, special teams was my bread and butter. Just and so I had to play. I was rotational slot, and then I would get my reps when someone like kind of your situation when someone go out, whatever level it was, semi-pro or in the arena football scene or JUCO, right? And then basically at the JUCO level, for me, it was made primarily special teams and then rotational slots. So gunner and then being up back on punt and kind of knowing how to be a wedge and also being a jammer, like kind of like being able to block. And so to your point, like my coach does the same thing. He's like special teams wins games. If you want to spend some time after practice, kind of review kind of the positions and kind of formations and kind of where you're supposed to lay integrity, all that good stuff. Just sync up with me, and I did.
Oh, dude,
So,
and I guarantee you that it took, like, you're actually making plays on special teams now. Like, oh,
you know what I'm
and
saying,
then
bro?
you make one play on special teams, and they're like, hey, go play slot receiver.
Yeah, exactly,
You're like,
dude.
all right, all
All
right,
right,
okay, I'm
man.
there. I'll
I'm
be there.
there, bro. You
So,
already know. You already know. Go ahead.
but yeah, man. So that was and honestly, like I always thought I was gonna be the best receiver, and
Right.
like you have always, that's one thing that you always have to understand is on every team, everyone has a role. Like in whether you're the starting receiver, backup receiver, or a special teams player, you have a role on that team, and that role might change. But if you don't understand your roles, then that team isn't really going to click the way you want it to click. So,
Facts.
like, that's one thing that I had to do, is take my mindset out of wanting to be the best receiver on the team, is being like, hey, this is my role. And then once I understood that, that's when I started making teams. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like, oh, I made that team. Oh, I made that team. I made that team because I started understanding roles.
Right.
Let me play that role. I'll play that role. If you play that role, like, I'll be consistent with it. I'll make the team better.
That's
So
simple.
if you make the team better, 9 times out of 10, they're going to keep you around.
Exactly. I mean, it's not so much about because everyone has talent. It's more so kind of attitude and mindset. And I think to that point, as long as you're kind of like you said, if you know your role, and my coach used to say this all the time, like like he'd be like 81 Ali Oz whatever the fuck or Oz, that's the nickname. Just don't worry about playing time. Don't worry about whatever your quote unquote position is, right? Just
Right.
play your role, and when your time comes to shine, it'll come. And I mean, a few
Right.
few
The
few
ball will
podcasts.
always find you.
Yeah, exactly. The ball always finds you one way or another. And like you said, the play on special teams was how I was able to get my starting role at slot eventually.
Mhm.
And yeah, I mean, I totally agree. I totally agree. So now, yeah, that's a perfect segue. Let's talk about your coaching career now, what you're doing, and I see the coffee stuff that you mentioned about Sandy, your teammate, but I want to know about what you're doing with it because you have that listed in your bio on your IG. So talk to me about kind of what you're currently involved with, kind of with coaching, with the coffee, the business, kind of
Yeah.
entrepreneurship. Go ahead.
So when I got done playing, like I just wanted to figure out how to stay in the game. So um, got connected with my local high school. Been coaching at Carlsbad High School for 5 years now, and that's been a great experience doing receivers, special teams, wherever they need help.
Yeah.
So been doing that, and that's grown into my coaching that I do outside of the high school, which I call my life coaching. So life coaching, I do training, we do fitness, we do speed training, we do all these different types of training. And within all that, we have all of our life lessons, all these things that we talk about that make all the athletes the better people.
Right.
um, so I do the life coaching. I coach at the high school, and I love surfing. So I live right next to the beach. I'm from Carlsbad. So surfing community. So I do a lot of surfing,
Right.
and I love to drink coffee, man. So the coffee thing is something that I really have been passionate about over the last 5 or 6 years. I just kind of travel around. I drink different types of coffee, and it's just kind of what I like to do. So a buddy of mine, I met with a buddy of mine a week ago, and he does something similar. That's called that's with wine,
Mm.
and he loves wine, and he started this thing called NFL Wine Guy. It's Will Blackman, and he's doing this NFL wine subscription, and he basically tries wines, networks with people, builds his little subscription baskets, and we talked about doing something similar with coffee, and basically we gotta create our network. So now I'm creating a network of people. Um, my buddies do coffee. So, sorry, my dog's running all over the
Oh,
place.
you're no worries, no worries. You're good.
Um, so, trying to do coffee with a bunch of my buddies, and my buddy Damien, he has a coffee. You know, he has his own coffee business, and I thought that was pretty cool. And I've always wanted to connect with them. And life, I think, to me has kind of got to a point where I have time to reach out to people.
Yeah.
So I reached out to him. We met up the other day, and it was awesome, man. It was great to connect with him. He taught me a lot about what he does with coffee, and the people he deals with, and he's got family that's got farms of coffee beans, and he's from Jamaica, and I just learned a lot about him, and I'm like, wow, you got some cool stuff going on. So I just thought that was cool, and that's what I love about it, is it just connects me. It connects me with people. It connects me with what I like to do and what I love to do and what I'm passionate about. What's better than sitting around and having a cup of coffee talking about football? You know what I mean? Like,
Exactly.
so that's kind of how I feel about the whole coffee thing. And I don't know what it's going to grow into, but it's part of my lifestyle, and that's something that I definitely want to put out to people to share with.
Yeah, absolutely. I think as long as you're doing what you're passionate about, and kind of to your point, like, this is for me, this is a passion too. I mean, like, yeah, I played, almost 12, 13 years. I guess I'm 30 now, so I'm technically playing, but technically retired-ish. So, I mean, but obviously this podcast, kind of to your point, like, I just started this, and reconnecting, like you said, reaching out, like, Coach Dub, you saw the post, and you liked it, and I reached out to you, and then, like, now here we are. It's all about just, like, just connecting with each other, connecting the football community, and besides football, right? Like, what else, outside of that, I mean, I work in, my IT field, and I'm really passionate about that. It's blossomed pretty well, since I stopped playing, like, full time professionally. So, I mean, to your
Awesome.
point, yeah, to your point, it's awesome. Yeah, and me too. I love coffee. I have a fucking sign that says "No coffee, no worky."
Yeah.
Dude, I just, like, oh my god. So, I
Yeah.
mean,
That's great.
yeah, no, I definitely gotta come down one of these days. We gotta link up, man. Because, I mean, I want to try
Yeah.
some coffee, and I want to get some of that Brett Swain performance. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
actually, yeah, to listeners, tell me, where can they find out more information about your life coaching or anything within? Because, I mean, I see the logo, obviously, and it's nice. It's like almost as the SDSU logo, but it says BS. Your initials. So talk to me about that.
Yeah. So, Brett Swain Performance is just, my training that I did growing up. There's a lot of history behind it. I've studied a lot of what I'm doing through a lot of different past trainers and stuff like that. But I've developed my own kind of off-season training program, and we hit on all cylinders. I've been doing it for quite a while now, and got some quality guys playing at high levels, and it's been awesome. Just developing athletes from their mind, body, and soul, and just watching them go and excel in whatever they're doing. That's the best thing that I like seeing, and the most satisfying thing that I get from it. So you can find me online, coachbrettswing.com, pretty easy. And basically it just breaks down what I do and what we do. And, it's, we try not to charge a whole lot of money. It's not for money. We just get the kids out on the field and we work out, and within that workout, we talk about, these little details that will help you in life and in football and all these little things that are going to get you going. So, it's been awesome through 2020 because kids are not in school. So, we get their butts up in the morning and we get them a workout before they go to school. So that's been the good thing with 2020 is that we're able to kind of like do that and do some mentoring while the kids are, like being taken away from their schools and their communities a little bit. So, that's kind of what I love. Like I said, giving back, like we talked about in the beginning, giving back. And that's my give back is teaching them what made me the player I was.
Right.
And the cool thing is that I see them take a little piece of that with them wherever they go. So
that's big. And that's big, So I mean, to have the impact and influence those young lives is huge. So.
Oh yeah. Cool, man. So that's pretty much it. What else you got?
No. What else I got? Yeah, let's see. Oh yeah, I forgot that. I think I heard some sports about who's your. Okay, yeah. Let me ask you this: you obviously play professionally, but are you a fan of any football team professionally, and any basketball team, and obviously baseball? I mean, who's your 3 top teams? Obviously, you're SDSU fan, so I'm not gonna ask you about college.
Yeah. So football wise, grew up San Diego Chargers, so always watch the Chargers. My favorite uniforms, powder blue.
Yeah.
Packers, I'm passionate about the Packers, so they're probably my number 1 team. Chargers number 2. Basketball, basketball has been interesting. This last year was kind of difficult for me to watch basketball, but hopefully this new season will be better with not being in a bubble and all that craziness. For basketball, the Clippers, San Diego Clippers were down here back in the day. So I would say the Lakers, the Lake Show, but I definitely have a little piece of the Clippers. So being that they came from San Diego.
Yes, sir.
Oh man,
yes, sir.
there you
Yes,
go.
sir.
Yeah,
I was actually there. Staples Center after Kobe night after the helicopter crash. Yeah, man, it was fucking lit, dude. It was like, oh my god, yeah. Lakers all day. So
that and then San Diego Padres. Sure. Yeah, Manny Machado.
Oh, dude, God, we're talking about the glory years, man. The golden days.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, and then yeah, I mean pretty much, yeah. I mean same, yeah, it's like for me it's like the Niners and then like the Lakers and then like the A's, and so it's like the same thing, it's like glory days at this point. I mean Niners, I mean we look kind of good last year. Now it's like, but I kind of knew that. I mean Jimmy's a product of the system, it's almost like Alex Smith. But Alex Smith actually has a tremendous character. Jimmy hasn't really been tested as much as Alex has, you know what I mean? So
yeah,
I mean it's just one of those things. So we'll see what happens with that.
It is. Do they still have a chance of making playoffs?
They might, but I don't know. I mean, I don't think they do because they lost Sunday to the Redskins. The Redskins, and like to your about Alex Smith, right, dude? Like he comes back here and he just whoops their ass and back in Washington, and they're leading the division now. They're probably gonna, dude. They might win. They might win out. They might go in the playoffs on a 7-game win streak. You know what I mean?
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy.
That's nuts.
Yeah, it's
nuts, man.
Shoot. But you know what?
Right,
hey, yeah. Well, I mean, we'll close this out. But I just want to, hey, man, I really appreciate your time, and we'll do this again. I mean, Coach Dub was saying yesterday we should have like kind of like a coaching clinic where we talk about like different like kind of technique skills for wire out stuff like that. So I mean, I might so I'll let you know about that if you're interested. So
yeah, just let me know. What my buddies have been doing is, they do different episodes. So whatever you want to do, whatever you want to talk about, just do it in a different episode.
That's exactly what we do. That's exactly what we do. Different episodes. So this is gonna be its own episode, and the next episode is gonna be like that. So
cool.
Yeah. All right. I appreciate your time, brother.
Appreciate you, man. Good convo.
Good convo. All right, man. Take care.
Later.